Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Welcome to the ninth in a series of Redux reviews, where I revisit my earlier videos that were recorded a few years ago on substandard equipment and with less in the way of production values. The aim of these reviews is to enable me to tighten and expand the writing, fleshing it out with further insights where appropriate, and to produce something of superior video and audio quality to the original. Today's review is 1988 Gloranthan Bestiary, Creatures from Around the World for RuneQuest 3rd edition by Chaosium. Okay, first a bit of history. Gloranthan Bestiary is a 48-page softback book that details 60 creatures for players to encounter. This was the only book solely dedicated to creatures released for the 3rd edition line. To the cover. Here we have what I assume is a Morocanth sharpening a sword by Sam & Max creator Steve Purcell. It's not bad. Onto the inside. Here we have the invocation: the fathers created the universe, the mothers created man, the Jurastelli created culture and learning, from the Jurastelli Book of Truths. I'm not really sure how this pertains to the creatures contained within. First we have an introduction on Gloranthan ecology. It discusses that Gloranthan is quite different from Earth due to the likes of magic affecting climate, biology and life itself. It mentions, for example, how different evolution is for dragon newts compared to our idea, and how elf forests behave as a single living organism. It talks about how chaos is a palpable, powerful force, and how it damages the ecology. In Genitella, monsters come in species, whereas in Pamaltella they incline towards unique creatures like the Mother of Monsters or Sleng of the Marshes. It then goes on to discuss the different ecological zones of Genitella, Pamaltella and the Ocean Islands. After this we have the usual deluxe rules section, which discusses things like rituals, spirit magic, divine magic, sorcery and deities. It also includes a small selection of creatures from the deluxe edition that are not included in the standard edition, like the Sylph and Undine. The next section is the main body of work, the creatures of Glorantha. First up is the Altacamelus or High Llama, tall giraffe-like creatures that roam the expanse of the Genitellan wastes and pracks. Following that we have the giant baboon. These are an offshoot of the intelligent baboons and are known for their expertise in spirit magic and also their lack of full use of their arms, and as such they are quadrupeds. We then have the Baluchithea, a colossal long-necked hornless rhinoceros, so fearsome that even saber-toothed tigers avoid them. They can be as much as 9 metres long and 4 metres high, though they are calm, mild-mannered creatures and are held sacred by most native humans. We then have the bison, which resembles those found in North America, then the Setoi, which refers us to mermen. After this is the Charn Gibber. These are strange creatures whose own shape is unknown. They take the form of the last creature they swallowed with the addition of D6 tentacles. They begin the season as a small thing like a rat or lizard and swallow progressively larger things and can end up, for example, the size of a tentacled dinosaur. After that we have the cockatrice. These are created by sorcerers and are artificial monsters formed in magical rites who have a venomous peck that can turn people to stone. The Dwerilin is next. These are scaleless eel-like creatures that have humanoid bodies, often mistaken for mermen. Also listed is the Surturan, which are a sterile byproduct that are found where the Dwerilins are. The Black Elf is next. Otherwise known as Varalans, the Black Elves are not really Eldraiami and are squat, hermaphroditic plant-like creatures with domed heads who communicate telepathically. They tend to worship fungus gods like Mivarala. Following them is the Blue Elf or Merthoi. These are oceanic mer-elves. There are 3 species of mer-elves, one of which lives in fresh water, and they die quickly when removed from water. We have a mention of the brown elves, i.e. basic RuneQuest elves, and then it moves to green elves. They are described as being the most important type of elf in the Great Darkness, but as having lost ground since that time. We then have a mention of the yellow elves. They are physically taller and darker skinned than other elves and live in the Pamaltella jungles. Then there is the lesser horned gargoyle, strange creatures seemingly made of stone. They have hideous faces, stone-hard flesh, and low intelligence. The Nidron or Piscoi mermen are next. These are huge, finned and scaly creatures that die out of water. The strange creatures called Gobblers are next. These are creations of the Mostali, with their only purpose being to devour one type of material. Eventually they will consume so much that they will go on a rampage. Goblins or Slorifings are next. These are known as red elves or fern elves, and are all male except one strain called the Alarians. Following these are the Gorger. These awful creatures wage war on the humans of Kimos. They appear as emaciated creatures with long limbs, huge malformed heads and scary misshapen faces. They radiate a damaging psychic aura that causes fear and pain. The Grey Giant is next. Native to Pamaltella, they are a dim-witted bestial race that moves on all fours. Gremlins follow these. They are creations of dwarves that are defective nilmergs and are adept at damaging machinery. They're good at staying hidden and wreaking havoc. The mysterious Groterons are next. These creatures stand over 3 meters tall, have no head, and have a third arm growing where their neck should be that has a large yellow eye on it, as well as a large mouth in their chest. They wield gigantic bows in combat. We then have the Gru. These are large, foul creatures that are bipedal and have huge deformed heads and black horn-like growths all over their bodies. They inhabit the Pamaltellan plains and are solitary creatures. Their blood is incredibly corrosive and it damages weapons hitting it, and they have long, lashing tongues that they can attack with. Then there's the Gulper. These creatures inhabit the Pamaltellan swamps and rainforests and are like a strange, huge hybrid of frog and bat. They have distendable mouths and can swallow creatures almost double their size. After this is the Hular. These are huge, almost legendary creatures. They have 3 faces, 2 legs and 4 arms. They are incredibly strong but peaceful and have a skill for making enchanted objects. They are believed to have been the first form of intelligent life to populate Pamaltella. After the Hular we have the Hoon, large flying creatures that resemble skull-headed bat-like things from the mountains of Pamaltella. They have acidic saliva and tail spines that they use to kill their prey with. And then we have the Huantou. These are chaos horrors from Gloranthan that have huge bony heads and sinewy limbs and are usually accompanied by ghouls. Their primary aim seems to be to overthrow the ancient governmental system of Gloranthan and have been known to have unlikely allies in their efforts to do this. Their poison spite, if not treated, can transform the victim into a ghoul. We have the Lesser Hydra next, which is pretty much as you would expect it to be. Same for the Impala. The Gelmrai after that, and these are small humanoid climbers that have long fingers and huge ears and eyes. They have a particularly odd ability to crystallise their emotions. When they want to, they can grow a tumour-like growth on their body that they store an emotion in, anger, fear, love, etc. The emotion can be released if the crystal is broken, and it has an in-game effect on the recipient. Then there's the Gelanti. These are large living stone statues that the Mostali use as labourers. During the Second Age, friendly giants freed a large number of Gelanti, and the elves gave some of them free will and intelligence. After that, there is the foul Crashed Kids. These are horrors from below that burrow through the earth. Wholly loyal to the chaos god Crashed, most surface dwellers have never even heard of these things. They are circular shaped with 6 claws. And following this are the Lucans. These stout beetle-like creatures are timinids. They usually live in highland woods and are dull and aggressive. We then have the Ludok or Ketoi mermen. They are the merfolk most often seen by humans and are generally friendly to mankind, and oddly, they actually can't stay underwater for as long as you would think. The Magisaurus are next. These are the result of a crested dragon newt failing or refusing to undergo the metamorphosis to the warrior stage. Instead, they follow a different path and transform into these dinosaur-like creatures. They no longer remember their previous existence, although they can use all types of magic except dragon magic. Following these is the Malasp or Piscoi mermen. These generally deal peacefully with humans and feud with the Ludok mermen over the possession of the Marthino Sea. We then have manatees and a general note on mermen, and then the oddly named Midget Slasher. These are carnivorous creatures with long hind legs and ball-shaped torsos that go with their mouth full of long fangs. And then there's the Moracanth. Very unique to Gloranthan, these are tapir-like creatures that live in the marshes and plains of Prax and the wastelands. They are quadrupeds that herd humans as food. This is generally tolerated but not completely appreciated. They have their herdmen trained to fight alongside them in battle, and the Moracanth are trained in a hand-to-hand fighting system. Also, they worship the same gods as the humans of Prax. Following this is the Myrmidon. This is a type of timinid. They are tall and slender with flattened heads and complex mouths. They live in hive-like towns. And then we have the Newtling. These are an amphibian species that are sometimes kept as slaves by dragon newts. The Night Rider is next up. They are foul miniature chaos monsters from the Palmeltellan rainforests. They have long slit-like eyes, flattened skulls and wrinkled black skin, with long branched fingers and are nocturnal. They are usually found riding on the back of another creature, the likes of crocodiles, panthers, or even elves or humans, and they transmit emotions and suggestions to their mounts, and the mounts in turn get the benefit of the Night Rider's superlative senses and concealing ability. They can also channel damage and fatigue points to their mounts. Although creatures of chaos, they don't usually have other chaos features. After this is the Night Stalker. These creatures live in the northern jungle and are incredibly thin and tall, with 4 limbs that end in human-like hands. They have long wrinkly necks and their skin is grey. They are generally grapplers who enjoy smashing their opponents against the nearest tree. And then there's the Nilmerg. These are created by the Mostali and are the exact opposite of the Gremlin. Their job is to repair a single type of machine. They are small and almost mindless. We then have the Orvaltor or Hornillian Swamp Goblin. These are rarely seen and are related to normal goblins. The Uri or Ketoi Mermen are next. These are ugly, baggy-skinned creatures occasionally called the Walrus People. Despite their appearance, they are friendly to humans and inhabit the Neliomi Sea. We have a reference to the Piscoi and then we have the Rascaloo. These are a type of beastman that have a centaur-like form that is closer to a rhinoceros than a human. They are huge creatures standing 5 metres tall and are covered in thick armoured hide. They're stupid and very dangerous. And after that is the old RuneQuest classic, the Rubble Runner. These are large rat-shaped creatures that have huge mouths and armadillo-like scales. They're most often found in ruins. After that we have the Runner. These are degenerate fur-covered elves that live in the Aldrayami forests. And then we have the saber-toothed tiger, which is pretty much what you would expect, and then the sable antelope, often known as the lunar deer due to the shape of their horns. We have the Sithani, or Sosganjo Swamp Goblin. These are another offshoot of goblins that inhabit Sosganjo. The Shadow Cat is next. These are sometimes called shimmer cats due to their speed, agility and magical nature, and they are sacred to Orlanth. After that is the Sky Bull. These are literally large flying bulls that are offspring of Stormbull. They are rarely tamed and are herded as cattle. The Slarge follows them, and these are intelligent, hostile reptiles that vastly outnumber mankind. They live in the Great Marshes to the far west and have 2 types, giant and lesser. After that we have the Succubus. On Glorantha, a succubus is the chaotic opposite of the fertility nymph that is formed from extreme negative psychic residue. They are shape changers that travel at night seeking their victims, whose con they drain at each visit. We have a brief note on the insect people of Glorantha, Timonids, and then we skip to the Titanothea. These are large creatures that live in small herds protected by bulls. We then have the Great Troll, Jungle Troll, Troll Mistress race, and the rarer Mountain Troll, or Snang. These are a form of gigantic solitary cave troll found in the mountains of Palmeltella who are unharmed by sunlight. It details a sea troll, a primitive race that have affinities to the Mistress race and the Snow Troll. It also details a Trollkin, the degenerative offspring of trolls since Kabaji cursed them. It details the Tusk Rider, or half troll, a murderous evil race who ride giant boars called Tuskers, and then we have the Tusker themselves. Following this are the Wertagi. These are a hybrid of men and mermen who look like normal humans except for their blue-green skin. They also have webbed fingers and toes. The strange Watchweir are next, and they are hulking ape-like creatures with deformed thin claws and a tiny beaked head. They are found in the jungles and mountains of Palmeltella. The Windchild follows these, and these are humanoids with large feathered wings. They're very rare and found only on the fringe of Gennet's waste. And after them we have the Isabau or Piscoi mermen. These are hideous creatures covered in spines and scales who hate humans. And lastly we have the Zabdamar, who are the rarest and most magical of Glorantha's mermen. If you're the type of person that collects RuneQuest material, then the Gloranthan Bestiary is a must-have, but not really for the right reasons. As the only monster supplement created for 3rd edition, if that's the only version of RuneQuest that you play, you really should own it to give you a campaign longevity and variety. But as books go, it can't really be regarded as a classic. Firstly, there are far too many varieties of mermen. I mean, how many do you need? Secondly, some of the monsters are borderline ridiculous, and a lot of them felt a bit samey. The writers are to be applauded for not going down the route of copying the likes of D&D and extrapolating monsters from myth and legend and crowbarring them into the setting, with the possible exception of the Hydra, but the book isn't as interesting as it could or should be. The art throughout varies from poor to good, though at times there seems to be a disconnect between descriptions and drawings. For example, there is a Moroccan on the cover sitting on a stool sharpening a sword, and yet the description described them as being quadrupeds with no true hands. Also, basic creatures like bison and antelope really shouldn't be taking up space in a book that's meant to present the weird and wonderful. As books go, it's not too difficult to find, though it can be expensive at times, and if you're not an avid RuneQuest GM or collector, there's probably only one for the completionist. When I originally reviewed it, I gave it a 5.5 out of 10, and it's a score I still feel it deserves. If you enjoyed this review, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Also, if you're interested in buying this product, I'll put some links below. Lastly, if you like what I produce here, then maybe think about supporting me on Patreon, or even becoming a member of my YouTube channel. Bud out.